Hey guys, how's it going? It's Harrison with Mainely Acres Farms. Thanks for tuning in. Howdy folks, it's Harrison with Mainely Acres Farms, and today I figured I would roll the camera and show you guys how to do some boot repair. So I'm pretty sure you guys have had some boots that'll start talking to you eventually, and it's a real easy fix, but I find a lot of people have a hard time in repairing these, and that's because they don't go through all the proper steps of prepping it to get it ready to glue. So I figured I would show you guys how I prep these boots and show you how I glue them as well. So the first thing you want to do is get the boot in a comfortable position here in between your legs, or if you have some boot lasts, go ahead and put it on there. And the first thing I like to do is take some sandpaper, like so. This is 120 grit sandpaper here. And what I like to do is I like to take my sandpaper, wedge it in between the leather upper here and the rubber sole on the bottom. And I just work this back a couple times, and what I'm doing here is just trying to rough up the surfaces and pull off any of that remaining glue. So you just kind of work that back and forth, and then when you're done with that, you want to flip it over and work that rubber side. So again, we're just putting it inside of that natural hole there and working it back and forth. Now I've already gone over these boots with that, so that's all fine and dandy, nice and cleaned up now. So the next important part is to take yourself a clean cloth like so, take some rubbing alcohol and just drip that on the edge there so you guys can see it's nice and saturated. Then I'll take this cloth, wedge it in between the two pieces of material and work that back and forth. Going down on the rubber piece here, working that in, and then also putting some upward pressure and getting that leather upper cleaned as well. And so there you go. It's been cleaned with the alcohol, so that removed any oil, grease, or grit in there, as well as removing any bit of that leather shavings we just took off with the sandpaper. And so now the boot is prepped and ready to glue. So what I do with boots like these here is I'll take me a tip of a toothpick here, you guys can see, and what I do is I'll pull the sole down, put that toothpick right into the rubber there, and while pulling back on that rubber sole, push the other edge of that toothpick up into the leather upper, and that's what it's going to look like. And the reason why I do that is because the glue that I use is a contact cement. So I'm going to have to get another toothpick here and make sure that I put all of that contact cement on the upper leather here, and then also on the lower rubber part here. And it's a good idea to let that glue kind of tacken up before you put them together. So that's why we have this little piece of toothpick in here, is to keep the sole away from the leather upper while we're putting in our contact cement. So we'll put our boot back in between our legs here. We'll grab some of this glue here on the edge of our toothpick. Now this glue does have harmful vapors in it, so it is a good idea to have good ventilation when you're using this stuff. So what I'm doing here is I'm just working that glue on the upper part first onto the leather, making sure I rub it in there real good. And this piece of leather, you guys can see it has started to split here, so I'll put some inside of that split, push it back, and continue rubbing some glue in there. And all I'm doing here is just making sure I got plenty of glue on all the surfaces. And don't worry about if you get a little bit too much. That stuff will come squirting out when we go to put these back together, and you can just wipe the excess off with a damp cloth. Alrighty, so I have that all coated on both sides. I'm going to sit this over here and let that tack up a bit for about a minute or two while I'm working on the next boot. Alrighty folks, so it's been about 2-3 minutes. You guys can see, still have my toothpicks in there. And what I'm going to do now is go ahead and put another light coat of the shoe glue on there. And the reason being is because this leather upper here has a tendency to soak that shoe glue into the material. So it's just good to make sure that you have a nice base coat of that glue on there. Alrighty, so the glue is starting to set and get nice and tacky, so we'll go ahead and pull our toothpick pieces out of the sole, out of the leather upper there. Pull those out. Now we'll go ahead and meet them. Alright, sorry about that guys, I had a phone call I had to take. But I've just been sitting there holding on it, and what I'm doing now is I'm just taking my sandpaper around the edges and still continuing to clean up that glue a bit. Now don't be worried if you're starting to take off a little bit of that dye off of this leather here. You guys can see I'm taking off a little bit of that dye. I have some other dye and I'm going to put that on there and you won't ever notice it. But it is real important to, like I said, get this glue that you can see here off of it before it cures. Because then you'll be, having to crank out the Dremel and whatnot just to get that out of it. I find it's a lot easier to do it now. So we'll take our rag, put a bit of alcohol on the tip here. Take that and wipe off the all that extra bit of glue there. You guys can see it's pretty much bonded on there. And the only thing left I'm going to do is I'm actually going to run a small bead of super glue here where the two pieces meet. Finish sanding that up, re-dye the upper leather here, and it's all done. So hopefully this has showed you guys how to properly fix your boots. So that way you guys can keep your boots lasting a long time, because we know how pricey some of these boots can get. This is a real nice set of boots here, and so much better to be able to fix them up and reuse them instead of just tossing them out. There you go. So these are looking brand new and ready to last a few more years. The only thing that I've done since the last video was I added a bit of super glue just along the edges, like I said, where the leather upper and the rubber sole meet, and I cleaned up the leather upper here with a bit of sandpaper and re-dyed it. And I'll zoom out here and you guys can see I went ahead and gave these a good polish and put the mink oil right to them, because winter is right around the corner. So these boots will be ready for a Maine winter. I hope this has helped you guys. As always, if it has, share it across your social media, like, hit that subscribe button, and more important than all of that, spend time with that family. See you guys later.